call this meeting to order at 6:03 p.m. on June 9th, 2026. This is a Millbrae Special City Council meeting. City Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilmember Councilmember Nguyen,
Here.
Councilmember Riley,
Here.
Vice Mayor Fung,
Here.
and Mayor Rinaldi.
Present.
All members of City Council are present.
All right, thank you, Clerk. So being that this is a special City Council meeting, we'll hold the Pledge of Allegiance for our council meeting, which will be later on at 7 p.m. tonight. So with that being said, and we have a Planning Commission interviews on our agenda tonight. So there are 2 open positions on the Planning Commission for a full term ending June 30th, 2030. 3 candidates are invited to be interviewed. We have Ken Leland tonight, Maureen Davis, and Nathan Chan. Applicant Maureen Davis has notified staff that she's unable to attend tonight's interview. She has provided a written statement for the City Council's consideration. A copy is available in your purple folder and has also been posted online. Each applicant will have 20 minutes to answer the same 2 questions from each council member at the podium. That's a total of 8 questions. For fairness, applicants will wait in the City Hall lobby until invited into the council chamber for their interview. Once interviewed, applicants may remain in the council chamber. The use of mobile devices during the interview process is prohibited. We'll begin with Mr. Leland, please. All right. Good evening, Mr. Leland. How are you doing? Thank you for joining us tonight. So we'll go ahead and we'll start off with our questions regarding the interview process here. Which council member would like to go first? Councilmember Nguyen, why don't you go ahead and ask your questions?
Hi, I'm just going to we have some prepared questions as well, but I'm just going to go off of what I think is important role. So those questions will be structured after that, if you don't mind. Walk us through your thought process and how you envision what Millbrae will look like 5 to 10 years from now, right? And also tell just from your perspective, right? Of course, like there's no right or wrong answer here, but what do you think 5 to 10 years from now, given what you see today? How would you what would you contribute in your role to get us to where you think you'd be 5 to 10 years from now?
Well, just driving around the Upper Peninsula, I noticed a tremendous amount of large buildings going up. I guess that's the wave of the future. I'm not positive in that. But I see Millbrae is going up. I think we're going to have more buildings, have more places for people to live. But I'm not sure about the occupancy rate in those buildings at this point. Something I'd like to know. But yeah, 5 years from now, I think Millbrae is going to be a taller city.
From your perspective, right, how would we, as a city, from your role, if you're considered, how would you move about us being a bigger city? What would some considerations be on the planning?
Well, I think it's a process, and I think that you have to be a little flexible, common sense, listen to the issues, and make the best decision based on that. But I won't sit here and purport to be an expert on anything of this nature. I actually take a Tai Chi class over at the rec center, and one of the ladies there about 3 months ago said, Millbrae City is looking for volunteers to fill committees. I just retired, so the timing was perfect.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Nguyen. We'll go with Councilmember Riley next.
Thank you. What interested you in apply for become a planning commissioner? And how did you prepare for this interview today?
Well, you see I got a little portfolio here. I downloaded the Planning Commission Recruitment Information Workshop. Also, a few Planning Commission sheets explaining what the Planning Commission does. Haven't had a chance to read the whole thing. There's a lot to absorb here. I'm willing to give it a shot and absorb what needs to be absorbed.
Okay, thank you. Another question is, what aspect of your academic work, background, or experience qualified you to be a Millbrae City Commissioner?
Well, built several businesses. I was an owner of a food distributing company. I ran, just recently retired, food brokerage that covered Northern California. Also have dabbled in real estate. Did get a real estate license a long time ago. Bought and sold some properties in the city. During that process, had properties in Marin. You're in business and you're an entrepreneurial person, you learn a lot of things, and I think that it would help me sitting on the Planning Commission.
Okay, thank you. Last question, 2 or 3? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Riley. Thank you for being so enthusiastic to ask another question. So with that, we're going to go to our Vice Mayor, Vice Mayor Fung.
I'll try one question first, and then we'll go from there. How's that?
Sure.
Even though it might take you a little while to answer it. Thank you for applying, Mr. Leland. It's good to have you there, Ken. Let me just start by saying California is in a housing crisis. We knew that. And some of the cities also in San Mateo County in this Greater Bay Area, some of them are suffering from some sort of a structural deficit. Many cities do. Millbrae's not one of them. We're doing okay, but many other cities do. How would you like to see Millbrae's policy to shape the future of the city moving forward in terms of prioritizing affordable place to live, more housing for people, and also bringing in sufficient revenue to serve the growing number of people who want to live here?
That's a question that hard to answer, to be honest with you. In this day and age, you don't know what's going on anymore. There's a lot of crazy things happening. But I just believe that growth is inevitable, and you have to use the best possible reasoning to make growth good, but yet not excessive. Basically, I can tell you right now, I don't say. Hope is that Millbrae continues to have the flavor of a little town, but I would worry about that a little bit. I don't want to see us get too big.
So good growth, as you put it, and you don't want to see it grow too big. I'm trying to rationalize those two, and how would you characterize those attributes?
I really can't answer that question. It's going to be a learning process for me as well. And all I can do is read and listen to other people that already have the experience and learn from that. I think I have good common sense. I don't think I would make bad decisions. As I say, I do have a little bit of flexibility in terms of the way things have to be.
Thank you, Ken. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Fung. Well, Ken, I want to start by thanking you for your interest in the Planning Commission. As a 37-year resident, it's great to see folks that have been active in the community for so long, taking a special interest and helping out the general public. So really appreciate your application. Also appreciate that you're active in the community with the Tai Chi people. So all great things. My question kind of dovetails a little bit into Vice Mayor Fung's question. It deals a little bit more with our different plans that we have within the city. So our city adopted its general plan in downtown and El Camino Real specific plan. The city adopted its Millbrae Station area specific plan in 2016. How do you view the city's future with these policy documents, and what do you think is the Planning Commission's role in shaping the future?
I note the growth over by the BART terminal, train station, whatever. And then the decision to build around that, I think that's not just Millbrae, I think that's happening in a lot of little cities. And I think to an extent, that's the way it's going to go in the future, is people are going to have little areas of interest, live, shop there, they're going to live their lives there, basically. But I would like to see parks, recreational purposes, not continue to build without thinking about open space, about things that are important to people other than work. Again, there's a little bit of a learning curve here, and
Absolutely, you got to get a start somewhere. So appreciate that you're willing to roll up the sleeves and really try to learn the role as you go along. So how do you perceive the role of Planning Commissioner in terms of maintaining the architectural character and standards of specific neighborhoods and commercial districts and design review?
I see the El Camino corridor, quite frankly, is where the building's going to be, where buildings are going to go up. But beyond that, coming this way and that way, neighborhoods, houses, and people live and send their kids to school. That, to me, is a very important aspect of any city. Millbrae. Definitely make decisions of any sort that I'm able to make with those thoughts in mind.
All right, thank you. That concludes my questions and the questions from the full council. So really appreciate your time and your thoughtfulness with your responses. Thank you, Ken. City Clerk, would you like to bring in the next person? We'll go with Mr. Nathan Chen. Good evening, Mr. Chan. How are you doing tonight?
Great. Pleasure to be here.
Sure, this is no surprise to you, the council chambers. I'm sure you're quite familiar with it. Want to thank you for re-upping your application here, seeking reappointment for the Planning Commission. As you're probably familiar, you're going to get 2 questions from each council member here. And we're going to go council member to council member, so that's a total of 8 questions. And then after you're done, you're more than welcome to have a seat in the audience. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and start with council member Nguyen.
Thank you, Mr. Chen, for applying. I think given your experience, it seems like you know quite a bit about this role here. My question is more about the future of Millbrae, like 5 to 10 years from now. And more specifically, in your role, it's a 2-part question. One is, how do you see ideally what Millbrae will look like 5 to 10 years from now? And then what are you going to do to facilitate that vision from 5 to 10 years?
Thanks for the question. You know, I think in terms of when I think about the future of Millbrae, you know, my priorities are we going to continue to be an affordable place, a sustainable place, and a livable place? And I think, one of the things I had the privilege of participating in while on the commission, actually at the very start of my time on the Planning Commission, was the adoption of our 2040 general plan. And I think if we successfully realize the vision in that plan, things will be amazing. Like we'll have a vibrant downtown, the Grand Boulevard, our part of the Grand Boulevard initiative will be implemented on El Camino. So the vision is there. I think we just need to make sure that we see through that implementation. And I feel like just in the last couple of months, I think we've heard some feedback from residents about the nature of the general plan. Under the previous community development director, we also made some changes to the general plan in order to generate more interest in realizing that vision. So that's how that's what I think would be my priority if I were able to continue to serve in this capacity for another 4 years, is to realize the 2040 general plan vision. Does that answer your question?
Yes, and a follow-up to that comment is the general plan itself. A lot of the general plan is written a long time ago, to be honest, right? And there's going to be changes in between that adoption of the original general plan. Where do you think are the biggest gaps in that general plan? What do you think we need to do to revise and essentially get up to speed on all the changes that has happened since that adoption of general plan?
So I think probably, we did a lot of work on the downtown and station area plans. So I think in that sense, we're pretty up to date. But for the rest of the city, I think we are in need of some updates. And I think, one of the things that's always on my mind as someone who volunteers in environmental activism regularly is, are we doing enough to address climate vulnerabilities? So I know that CAL FIRE published the updated fire hazard maps. A significant amount of Millbrae is affected. Actually, I was kind of surprised how much more we were affected than some of the other cities in the Central County area. So are we providing the planning support and the code support to make sure that those communities will be safe in spite of these risks? And that's just on fire, right? Certainly on the flooding side, with One Shoreline and these other initiatives, we need to address how we handle a much more unpredictable hydrological environment. Sorry, this may be a little too technical. A much more unpredictable storm cycles, a possibility that the bay will rise. Again, I think that these are aspects of our general plan that could use an update so we can make sure that our community members feel safe, they feel comfortable in their homes, and that the city is there to support them.
Okay, just one more follow-up question to that. Those are, I think I agree on the gaps. Now, as we know with California, right, there's a structural deficit with the budget. And so I think part of the calculus is cost considerations. Maybe could you comment on all these initiatives, right, in terms of prioritization and how cost factors into your decision-making?
So I think, well, obviously I would pair up, there's two sides to the ledger, right? And I think we could do more if we have more economic potential. There'll be more revenue that's being collecting, more businesses coming. So again, I would lean a bit on the realization of economic development to help fund some of these initiatives. In terms of prioritizing amongst those competing areas, I think I would certainly prioritize people's safety above first. So that's, any sort of case where the disaster risk would put people's lives at risk, put their children at risk, put their grandparents or pets at risk. I think we need to look to those first and foremost.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Nguyen. We'll go to Councilmember Riley next.
First of all, I want to thank you for serve since 2022. Then what interests you to reapply to become planning commissioner?
Yeah, thanks for the question. I think, I've had the privilege in the last 4 years of being able to participate in a number of really big initiatives, housing element update, the general plan update, the local density bonus initiative. I think the main reason why I want to continue serving is there's one big project that we started while I was on the commission that isn't finished yet, which is the residential objective design standards. I think if we get that right, we will have the potential to really set up a lot of applicants, future residents, and current residents up for success when it comes to pursuing their dreams of home building or home renovation here in this city. I think the other thing too is that I've learned a tremendous amount in the last 4 years, and in some ways I feel like, okay, I think I kind of get how to do this job now. So, I'd like to be able to leverage that experience to continue to serve the city more competently in the future, which, I was learning at the time, but, and now I feel like I've got a reasonable handle on things.
Great, so you don't need the job training anymore.
No, there's always stuff to learn, so I'm definitely could always use some training.
Okay, my second question is from real life. If our residents submit in-law, ADU, for planning department, how long will turn around the time? How can we avoid people complain takes too long?
So I'm actually, there's a lot of the stuff that happens with ADUs is governed by state law. So it's my understanding that a lot of our hands are kind of tied in that respect. Additionally, I think, it's in terms of the sort of things you're talking about in terms of timelines for approving. I think a lot of that has to do with staff implementation, which would be guided by you folks, right? In terms of being able to make sure that the permits get reviewed and approved quickly. Probably, I would say the role that we have, though, is to create clarity in terms of the codes, right? So the last time that I remember the Planning Commission considered ADUs there was an update to the ordinance where we had to update the ADU guidelines to be objective. And I remember in that respect, it was like, well, it has to look exactly the same as the primary house. And, I think at the time I asked, well, why is that? Like, maybe people could have some ability to do something a little bit different with their ADU. And the argument again was like, well, this is objective, right? It's flat, hard and fast. Either it looks like the primary house or it doesn't. So maybe that's one way that we could help in terms of moving things forward, is sort of like, can we give clear guidelines to all residents about what kind of ADUs can be built so there's less confusion, less back and forth between applicants in the city?
For example, if I submit it to you today, should I hear from you back in 2 weeks or 3 weeks? Turn around the time.
I unfortunately don't know off the top of my head what are the standard permit processing times by jurisdiction in our county, let alone the state. I think if you wanted the Planning Commission to take this up, or me as an individual to take it up, I would, I analyze data professionally. I'd want to have some notion of what the distribution of permit processing times are, and that would give me a sense of like, okay, if we're above the median or above the 75th percentile of processing time, that would be worth a close look, because I think we should aim for providing good service to our applicants and residents.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Riley. Vice Mayor Fung.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner, for reapplying. It's good to see you back. I have one question, but it's relatively broad, so take your time. California is in a housing crisis. We know that. While Millbrae has worked really hard in the last few years and are in a balanced budget, we're thankful for that, some of the other cities in San Mateo County are actually suffering from a structural deficit. We've seen the news recently. How would you like to see Millbrae's policies to shape the future of the city moving forward here in terms of prioritizing an affordable place to live for many more people? Because there are more people who still want to come into Millbrae and live here, and also bring in sufficient revenue to serve the growing number of folks who wants to be here without imposing much of taxes to people.
Okay, so let me just,
Take your time.
how do we ensure that we continue to be fiscally solvent with the levers that we have to pull in terms of economic development and being a welcoming community? Did I get most of that?
Yes, but then also, sort of the premise is it's housing as well, because we're in a housing crisis, right? That's the beginning of the question. And how do we accommodate more people, right? In a city that is 3.3 square miles. I mean, we're not growing the city in terms of land mass. So how do we fit more people into the box and yet make it more affordable and try to find ways to not lose sight of our fiscal responsibility to those who live here?
Certainly, thanks for the question. I think a lot of it has to do with how do we create a thriving business community here. I know that the two most important categories of tax revenue collected by the city are property tax and sales tax. And so certainly for the second one, the more that we can generate business interest in Millbrae and draw people from outside the city to shop here, the more revenue we get to collect. So, one of the things that I was really excited about that we approved while I was on the Planning Commission just a couple months ago was the TNT store at the Old Lucky's, right? And I said at that meeting, I think this is going to be a big draw for people from outside the city. So I'm very excited for what that means in terms of the sales tax revenue that we could collect. I think, the other thing too is that if you look at our downtown compared to our peer downtowns on the peninsula, we're starting to build that mixed use, right? The Office Depot project, the Broadway project, the El Rancho project, but I would say we're behind where we see some of the other cities that have been moving at a faster pace than us. So I'm thinking of, say, San Carlos's downtown on Laurel Street or Redwood City, right? So we kind of have a template that we could follow there in terms of addressing both the housing needs as well as the financial needs of the city. The other thing too is that I think we need to look very carefully at the areas of the city that are, what's sort of what are net positives in what neighborhoods are net positives, versus ones where we're spending a lot of money, right? And think very carefully about that. So there's this school of thought called strong towns that sort of thinks about much more locally based planning, investing in your local communities, investing in local businesses, and sort of as opposed to approving big projects that are mostly single use. That's kind of how I would think about it. I've seen the modeling that they've shown, and it feels like that has a lot of potential for us. And our downtown has a lot of these small businesses, and so what can we do to stimulate more of that?
Thank you for your questions, Vice Mayor Fung. And I have a couple questions for you, Nathan. Echoing what the fellow council member said, really grateful that you're considering reappointment to the Planning Commission. My question's fairly general. So please describe what you think the future of Millbrae should look like. Think about the physical building form and shape of the city, the transportation network, the architecture and aesthetics, preserving the national and scenic environment. What would you like to see remain the same, and what would you like to be different?
Thanks for the question. You know, I really do find the Grand Boulevard vision pretty inspiring. I remember distinctly there was a piece of artwork in there that showed, I guess it was Parisian Street or something. And I think if we were able to realize that on El Camino, that would be wonderful. I live right next to El Camino right now. I was just telling, while I was waiting outside for my chance to interview, how noisy it is to live right next to El Camino. And you know, it's no surprise that that's the case because it's a 6-lane state-owned highway. And you know, if it were a little bit more walkable and more welcoming, I think that would make it a much more pleasant place to live in the city. So, you know, I think in the plan, there's plans for tree-lined medians, for gathering spaces on wide sidewalks. Those are the sorts of things I would like to see downtown, lots of space for people to gather and walk around. And then I think, you know, in terms of the rest of the city outside of downtown, you know, I think my vision would be of neighborhoods where you see families of all ages feeling safe to play outside, to walk around, feeling like they're safe. They don't have to fear that their house is going to be burned down or it's going to flood. I think, you know, for me, what's really important is the people aspect. So I don't have the strongest opinion on the physical form, because one thing that I've noticed, you know, doing lots of design reviews, is that new residents come into the city with their own dreams and vision, and to the extent that it still kind of works with the rest of the neighborhood, I think they should be allowed to realize that vision. And so I think change is a constant, and so the physical look and feel of our neighborhoods will probably not look the same in 10 to 20 years, but that change will probably happen gradually, and it will be, you know, on the initiative of the people who are living there.
All right, thank you. My next question kind of dovetails into that. You kind of already given me a little bit of a glimpse of your answer. How do you perceive the role of planning commissioner in terms of maintaining the architectural character and standards of specific neighborhoods and commercial districts in design review?
Thanks. So I think that's one way that we could make the job really easy is by having clear design standards. And so, you know, that's kind of part of why I'm really excited about the Objective Design Standards project. You know, it kind of takes the guesswork from the perspective of an applicant. It would take out a bunch of the guesswork, because the city will have clearly stated these are the sorts of things that we want to see developed in the city. And, you know, I think that within our current code, you know, there's height limits in most of the districts and setback requirements. I think there's still a lot of room there for applicants to be creative and try out new designs. So I'm always interested to see what people bring before the commission, and I think it'd be great to give them that freedom.
Thank you, Mr. Chan. So that wraps up all of our questions from the council. That wraps up our questions for both in-house. As a reminder to the general public, we do have a third applicant, Ms. Maureen Davis, who notified staff that she's unable to attend tonight's interview. She has provided a written statement for the city council's consideration. Each of the council members has a copy in your purple folder up here. And has also, our city staff has also provided that same resume and letter online, so it's posted. So with that being said, that wraps up our interviews for Planning Commissioner. Thank you very much. And we are going to adjourn at 6:37 p.m.